Just want to revel in that space that I'm in right now. Such beautiful music. So grateful to have all these wonderful musicians because music, it just is such a wonderful thing to put us in the space that divine space. So I'm today going to talk about truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And people from A Course in Miracles would say that everything here on earth is an illusion, it's not reality. And sometimes when I'm walking on this earth, I have a hard time getting a grasp on that and putting my head around it. It doesn't feel like it's an illusion or a dream. So I grapple with that sometimes. So I think I want to talk about illusions and how we get trapped. And before I do that, I think we need to talk a minute about metaphysics. What is metaphysics? It's going beyond the physical human dimension or the physical reality, beyond our sense consciousness, what we experience through our senses, see, taste, feel, hear, um, to that which is spiritual, something deeper. And so it is a branch of philosophy, and it is really about the nature of our existence. It's about how we exist, how we be in any given moment, our beingness. So it's going beyond the physical, outside the human sense perception to a deeper reality of truth. So it would be going to that divine place of wisdom. And so you could say that metaphysics really is unity's theology because that's what we're all about, right? We're into interpreting and using analogies and stories and parables and metaphors to see a deeper meaning than what appears through our human senses, what's happening on this earth. Would you say that's what we're all about? So even the Bible, we see the Bible in unity as um, stories that are symbolic of our human experience. And they give us ways that we can have a better experience, richer, deeper, more profound. So you can take any character in the Bible, any story in the Bible, and you can apply it in your own life right now and to you right now, and you can get something out of it. So we believe in symbolism. The teachings of Jesus were in parables. Jesus taught in parables, pulling us to get some deeper meaning out of the stories and the characters than what was on the surface of the story or the character. And we can each do that at any time. And what we get out of it will depend on what we've experienced in life and the lens that we're seeing through. So I heard a child the other day that was kind of, I interpreted it to be a temper tantrum, screaming and in anger. And I thought, what a brat. And then I thought, wait a minute, you don't really know what that child is experiencing. I mean, maybe the parent is pulling them aside to keep them out of danger or into a situation that the parent needed to be free to do something. And so they needed to pull the child to safety or whatever. And it was going against what the child needed in that moment for comfort or fun or whatever they needed. And so they didn't understand because they had never experienced. And so the parent could try to reason with them and reason from an adult stance, but the child could never get it because they've never experienced it until late in life. So what we take from any symbology, the deeper meaning, is different for each of us, different for me, different for each of you, based on the lens that you see through, based on your experiences. So there's no good or bad or right or wrong or better than. It just is. So in unity, we do teach to go beyond what appears to be the truth or reality on this human dimension and look deeper at a symbolic meaning that will help us in our lives. And then I come to the word allegory, similar to parable, analogy, metaphor, an allegory. Anything that can be interpreted to reveal the hidden meaning, the manna that's mentioned in the Bible, the manna. You will be given the manna, the hidden meaning, the divine wisdom, the divine revelation or realization of a truth that is beyond what we think. So, Tim, would you show the first slide? Is there sound? Maybe we don't really need sound. You can see the puppy was drinking out of the shadow of the water. The water was coming out of the water faucet, but he was drinking out of the shadow of the water and thought he was drinking water. Did you see that? Wasn't he cute? So even though there was no sound, we really didn't need to hear the sound to see that the puppy's reality was, in that moment, what he thought was reality was that shadow of the water. And he was just lapping it with his tongue as if it was real. So do you ever get in that space where what you think is real is not what's really going on? So I come to the allegory of the cave by Plato. Realize that Plato had a tremendous, philosopher Plato had a tremendous influence on the unity teachings. Did you know that? And he has this allegory of the cave, which I just have fallen in love with over the years. So Tim, would you show the slide? So it's about these inmates or these prisoners who are chained up in a cave, and they're chained in such a way that they can't turn their heads to see anything on either side of them or behind them. All they can see is the wall in front of them. And behind them, there is a fire that's reflecting light onto the cave wall in front of them. And people are walking in front of the fire, but behind the prisoner, back and forth. And with them are objects that are being displayed. And all the prisoner can see on the wall is the object being displayed. And to them, that's the only reality that they know. And so to them, that reality is real. End of slide. Thank you. So it's their reality, even though we see from out here that it's not the true reality. Those are just reflections on the cave wall. So think about in our human world when we think we see a reality, and then maybe we could look deeper to find a deeper reality. And thank goodness we are all endowed, we're embedded with the seeds to pull us higher, to pull us to a seeking of a deeper reality, always being pulled to that, so that we long for, even though we resist. We resist. And so the prisoners in that cave resist. Do you think they want to leave that cave, that prison, that reality? No, no. They don't want to leave because they don't know that there's anything better. They don't know that there could be something better if they climb that steep incline, if their chains were released and they were able to climb that steep incline out of the cave, out into the light, that there might be something bigger, deeper, more meaningful out there. No, they don't know there's even anything different. And think of us in our human world. How many times do we think that what we know and what we've grown accustomed to is our reality? And we don't know there could be more. And so we're comfortable with it. So we don't want to leave it. I'm thinking of people, generations on welfare who can't seem to break out of that. And generation after generation continues on welfare because they don't know that they could break out of that and have something even better. I'm thinking of children who are abused, who continually uh, choose abusive situations and relationships because they don't know there's anything different. They think that's the norm. I'm thinking of prisoners who get out of prison and they end up oftentimes going back because they can't adjust in the outside world. To them, that's what they've been comfortable with, what they've known, and they don't know that it could be better given a little time to adjust. And I'm sure you're all thinking of situations when people get accustomed to a routine or a norm that they think is reality and don't even try to escape, resist. If they were given an opportunity, they would resist. So it's not easy. It's not easy to break out of our self-made prisons. Some are not self-made, but some of our prisons are self-made. Some of the chains we shackle ourselves with. And sometimes it's because we haven't learned any better. We didn't know any better, but we do that. And we're like the inmates or the prisoners. And we don't know there could be a better life. And few humans escape. It's not easy to break out when we don't know. It's not easy to leave. It's not easy to climb up that steep incline. Some humans even live in the bottom of the cave. And maybe that's okay for them because that's all they know and they're comfortable. But what if we could show them little by little that there could be something better? It's hard. I'm thinking of in the Bible, it's spoken about the eye of the needle. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, I've got to take a time out right here. Can you imagine a camel trying to get through the eye of a needle? Yeah, I imagine that. It just cracks me up. I mean, it's ludicrous, right? But I need to take a time out here and say that when we say it's easier for a camel to do this than for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven, I need to take a teaching moment and say that when we speak of a rich man, we're not speaking of wealth and riches. We're speaking of a person who figures, I already know. I already have the truth. I know the truth. You can't tell me anything. I know. I know the truth. And you don't. And I have to teach it to you. Too rich with, in their own mind, with their own wisdom, so to speak, that they don't realize there's so much more that they can learn. They're all puffed up in their chest with, oh, I know the truth. And for that kind of person not to be like a blank slate, like the innocent mind of a child. Oh, give me more wisdom, give me more divine inspiration. There's more, instead of I know it all. So that's what they're talking about. It's harder for a rich man who thinks he's totally rich with divine wisdom that he can't take in anymore. Then it would be difficult for him to experience heaven. And heaven here, teaching moment, is not some place out in the sky that we go to. It is a beingness, a state of being in here, right here, in any given moment. And we can choose heaven or we can choose hell right here. So when he said it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go enter into the kingdom of heaven, that's really what they're talking about. And so I think about how hard it is for us to get out of our self-made prisons and our self-made shackles and chains and to rise above that and go to a deeper wisdom. It's just in our human world and in a divine sense, it's just not easy. And interesting enough, this is all mentioned in the New Testament in Matthew, Mark, and Luke in several places. And it's also mentioned the same idea in the Talmud and the Quran. So it's all over the place. So, and there's some evidence, some scholars have have evidence that's mounting that says that the word camel in the original translations, 4, 5, 6 translations down the road, was misspelled, so that they didn't mean camel at all, but they meant a huge rope or chain. So isn't that interesting? At any rate, I'm reminded of that, how hard it is to get through the eye of a needle, how hard it is for us to reach beyond what we see in our current reality. Next slide, please. I'm also reminded of the various references in the Bible to the mustard seed. If we had the faith of but a mustard seed, a tiny, tiny mustard seed, we could move mountains. It would be unlimited what we could experience. But so many of us don't know. We don't know that we could experience so much more. If we could only have that tiny bit of faith about how much more we could access the deeper divine source of wisdom right here in our sacred, secret place of the Most High. I have a mustard seed, and I'm not afraid to use it. I just love that. End slide, please. So I'm reminded of that too. And I should say, there will be a few small artists among us, among you, who will project shadows on the walls of prisoners that will give them hope and inspiration and a knowing that there is something better. There's always that yearning. There's got to be something better. Oh, no, no, no. And we resist. We resist. And we keep ourselves shackled. And I know maybe you're saying, not me, I don't do that. But I'm begging you to look again at the instances in your life where maybe on occasion you do. And also look at the occasions when you are that artist who projects images of hope and inspiration, divine inspiration out there for others to see. Even if they refuse to see, you planted the seed. I know that you all do this. You're unity folks, right? If those prisoners were to miraculously escape their bondage, they would find the world out there difficult to understand, difficult to accept, difficult to embrace, difficult to comprehend, just incomprehensible, a different reality than what they've ever known. So how could they be expected to go, to know and to be able to get it and to accept it? And human beings, if they were to be given a glimpse of something greater, how could we expect them to just glom onto it and go, oh yeah, there's going to be resistance, there's going to be turmoil? No, this is not what I know. And for sometimes we get it instantaneously. Oh yes, I resonate. This is it. This is true. Not what I've been taught, but this is true. This is another aspect of truth that I didn't know before. And it's real to me now. But sometimes it takes a while, and it's a gradual, like the prisoners who see the sunlight and they gradually are able to see. It's like being in a movie theater. And when you first walk in, it's like you can't see and you stumble over things getting to your seat, or maybe sit on someone who's sitting in a chair because you didn't see that person sitting there. Well, maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but and then when you come out of the movie theater, you're adjusted to the darkness. And so when you come out into the sunlight, you blink and your eyes are dim and you don't see things clearly. It's like when Plato supposes then that the prisoner is freed and they see the fire. They see the light when they come out of the cave. They go up that steep, treacherous incline. The light hurts their eyes. They get glimpses of wisdom at first, and then gradually it becomes more clear. And if when they first come out into the light, they're told, this is what's real, not what you've been seeing, not the version of reality that you've been seeing on the wall, they wouldn't believe it. Maybe they would be in pain. They would be angry. They would turn away. They would go, don't try to tell me that. I know what's real. Run back. I'm not accustomed to that. It would hurt. I want to escape. And likewise, when we're introduced to a new aspect of truth, we go, no. But sometimes we go, I'm going to keep an open mind to this. Oh, yes, I see. This could be, oh. Suppose someone were to drag a prisoner out of that cave by force, rough, up that rough ascent, the steep way up into the light of the sun. They would be angry. Don't drag me. Let me be what I'm comfortable with, in pain. When the radiant light hurts their eyes, overwhelms their eyes, overwhelms them, blinds them. It's the same in what Unity calls chemicalization. I experienced this when I went to Unity Village for one of my prereqs for seminary. One of my professors introduced me to a new truth about oneness, that we are all one. The depth of it, not just intellectually, but the experience of it. And I realized that all the embedded theology that I had learned all my life, whoever gets a hold of you first is what you know as the truth, was only one aspect. And this was something new and so different that it clashed with the old. And I was angry and I was in pain. I was crying. And my professor said, go ahead and cry, Sheila, that's good. But I knew it was true, even though I was resisting and it hurt. And it was the letting go of the old to make room for the new. There was a mourning, there was a grief, there was a loss of letting go. But once I did, once my eyes adjusted, I adjusted. At first, I saw only the shadows, but then gradually, I saw the reflections and then they began to change. And I saw myself. I saw the oneness in other people, in myself, in everything. And eventually, I was able to look head on. And I was able to understand that the shadows on the wall were not reality at all. What I had known was only one aspect. And it seems like the human condition seems bound to our impressions that we receive through our senses on this earth. Even if those interpretations might be absurd misrepresentation of reality. That's what we know. And it's extremely difficult to break out or to believe that we can. Do you believe that you have some shackles? Do you believe that in some areas in life or situations or aspects of your life, you are being held back? Maybe you're holding yourself back by what you're telling yourself, by what you've been told all your life, and you're still believing it. Do you now believe that you can break through to a higher understanding? Do you believe you can? I'm going to say that again. Do you believe you can? I hear you. Yes, I hear you. Even if it's in your mind, you believe you can. And that freed prisoner realizes the world outside the cave is superior to the world they experience in the cave. And so they might want to attempt, oh, this is wonderful. I want to share this with other prisoners that are remaining in the cave. So I'm going to go back and try to get them to come out here with me on my journey. And I'm so blessed. I bless myself for this change. And I pity those other prisoners. And so I want to bring those other cave dwellers out into the light. You ever been there? And so I returned to the cave, the returning prisoner to the cave, whose eyes have become accustomed to the sunlight. But now when I re-enter the cave, just as when I was exposed to the sun, now I enter blindness again because I'm going into darkness again. And so those other prisoners see me blinking and trying to see in the darkness. And so they assume by that my journey out of the cave had harmed me. And so it was not a good thing. And it should not be something that they should undertake. And so Plato concludes that the prisoners, if able, would therefore kill anything or anyone who attempted to drag them out of the cave. I'm thinking of when they killed Jesus. Jesus was trying to get us to see a bigger truth, a deeper truth. And they couldn't handle it. I'm thinking of us. How when other people try to get us to see a bigger truth, no. And you, have you ever wanted to try to get someone else to see your truth and you try to force them? It doesn't work that way, does it? Or have you ever experienced when someone said, oh, look what I've learned. What I've learned is this, and you need to believe like I do, or else you're going to hell. You need to listen to what I know. You ever had someone do that to you? Get away from me, I might say. So in the cave, it's a superficial physical reality. This metaphor, this allegory of the cave is so full of symbolism. The cave is about superficial physical reality in our human sense world. In a way, you could say the cave is about ignorance, meaning not knowing. It's about living in it and accepting things at face value rather than seeking a deeper wisdom, a deeper divine understanding through our spiritual work, through our prayers, through our meditations, through our reading of spiritual works, through all whatever it is your spiritual work consists of. I know that you all do. You're all seekers. You're unity folks, right? So that ignorance also in the cave is further represented by the darkness that engulfs the prisoners. The chains represent preventing prisoners from leaving the cave. They're trapped in ignorance, not knowing, stopping them from learning another aspect of truth, a deeper aspect of truth. The shadows could represent a superficial truth, the illusion that the prisoners see in the cave. The freed prisoner could represent a new understanding, a new wisdom, a different aspect of divine, deeper wisdom of knowingness, a realization. Oh, can never really go back to the cave once you know. The physical world is only a shadow of such a bigger reality. The sun glaring in the eyes of the prisoners could mean the higher truth of ideas. The light could mean wisdom, divine wisdom. And that's the most highest, most fundamental kind of reality, is that divine wisdom. So when we get our glimpses of wisdom, that kind of wisdom, and we ascend to that level, when in this moment we're whole, this moment we see and we experience, in this moment, we must not remain. We must try to shed our light. Maybe gently, because we know what happens when we try to force people to believe like we do, or when people try to force us, you got to believe like me, or else. Gently, just planting seeds. We must not remain in the cave when we know different. And we must not remain in the light. We must return to the cave dwellers to help them edge a little at a time, not throwing them out into what total in reality, but a little at a time, helping them, planting the seeds like Jesus did. Jesus was out there in the ranks, helping those in the cave to see a little at a time. So it speaks of this in 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 12. So I'm using the words now and then, or now and will. Now we might, before we have these glimpses, these realizations of a higher truth, before that happens, we might see the reality of our true nature as if squinting in a fog. Now, I'm taking a lot of different interpretations of Corinthians from a lot of different versions, and I'm putting them in my own words now. So at first, we see our own true nature in this from human sense consciousness as if squinting in a fog, like peering through a mist, through a dirty glass window, in darkness, obscurely, through blurred image, hazy, cloudy picture, a dim reflection of reality, a small fraction of the truth, only a part of the big picture. We see mysteries, the mystery of it all, a shadow. Our knowledge, our wisdom is incomplete, indistinct. We don't know everything. But then, when we're in that moment of wholeness, the glimpses of divine truth, we will know. We do at that moment know and understand fully and clearly, completely. When the weather clears and the sun shines brightly for us, in us, through us, we have a different experience of divine source energy right here, right now. And about those people who are unwilling to seek true wisdom. And about those you who are willing to do so. You're also willing to serve, as did Jesus, to plant the seeds, to help yourselves, and to help others out of their prison by example, by modeling, by planting seeds gently. We let our light shine, reflecting into those dark spaces, and we allow them to let their light shine. So be like a mirror reflecting light into the dark places. Be like Jesus. Let your light shine.
Thank you, Sheila. We're going to be sharing a song with you by Coco Love Alcorn called The River.